let's get on to the next book. And it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the last book, until we get to the one that I'm going to act out with my family. So it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, one of my favorites. It's really, really cool. So the characters in this book is Charlie Bucket, Mr. Willy Wonka, of course, Augustus Gloop, Mike TV, Veruca Salt, Violet Beauregarde, the Oompa Loompas. So what happens is this boy called Charlie Bucket has a really poor family. His dad works in a toothpaste factory, but all he does all day is just screwing the tops of the toothpaste. How boring. Yes, so as I told you, they're really poor. Their house is like the size of a cottage. They only have about 2 rooms, the kitchen and the bedroom. His grandparents are called Grandpa George, Grandma Georgina, Grandpa Joe, and Grandpa Josephine. Oh, that's like a hard word to say sometimes. It gets stuck in my head. So yeah, and his poor mother and father and him had to sleep on the ground, and his mother and father's names are Mr. Bucket and Mrs. Bucket. Charlie Bucket, and every day for supper he had to eat cabbage soup, for lunch cabbage, for breakfast cabbage. So he was sick of cabbage all day, and his most astonishing thing he could ever think of was chocolate. He loved chocolate. It was his most favorite thing of all time. Even when he went to school, he would just stir at the chocolate. He would walk way slower than normal so he could just smell all the nice chocolate. But he wasn't allowed to touch it or eat it. He was only allowed to look at it. And one day, he looked at the magazine, and what it said was 5 kids would be able to come with one person they loved to the chocolate factory. And Charlie was so desperate to go, but when it was his birthday, he only got to eat chocolate. But when it was his birthday, he got to go get a chocolate. Because his birthday is one of the most specialist days of the year. So yeah. And they only got a little bit of money in a day. So yeah. And when he got his chocolate from his favorite chocolate shop, his favorite candy shop, should I say, when he opened it up, he found a golden ticket. He loved it so much. I would even scream if I got that. He ran back to his house and showed his Grandpa Joe and Grandpa Josephine and all of those people, yeah. And he had to pick only one person. But the most person he loved and the most person that liked chocolate in his family was Grandpa Joe. So he had to take him. So when they were invited to the chocolate factory on the day, he was amazed with all the chocolates he seen. He was astonished of how they made him. But I think if I was actually there, my favorite would be the everlasting gum stuffer. That looks good and sounds good. Yeah. And my favorite part was when Rosa Gray turned into a big blueberry because every day she would chew on her chewing gum. She even was in the world record. Yeah, chewing bubble gum. And so she tried it, but she could taste all of the different kinds of desserts and dishes in the world. But the last one was blueberry pie. So guess what happened? She turned into a fat blueberry. She turned blue and it was so weird and funny. And then they had to take her to the squeezing room and they squeezed her back into a human. Yeah. And yeah, that was my favorite part. Oh my god. And now let's get on to my last book and then